Signals in the deep, markets never sleep. Whales move silent, but we speak. On-chain truth, no disguise. This is Leviathan, open your eyes.
GM fam, today is Friday. It's July 4th. So for all of you Americans, happy Independence Day. And for the rest of the world, happy Friday. We like to celebrate Fridays with more casual live stream. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage. In honor of that, we in fact have a cup of Joseph here as our special guest. We'll be talking with him about a ton of amazing things. But just first wanted to shout out the winner of last week's Squid Pass. So if you don't know, the sponsor of this is done on a rotating basis. Go to leviathannews.xyz and you can purchase the link that this QR code will go to. So the auction's in fact going to expire in about 30 minutes. We'll be checking in on that as we go through this live stream, see if there's going to be like some last minute bid pressure. It's not just this live stream that you can buy this QR code. If you win the auction, it goes to. It also gives you the featured spot on our leviathannews.xyz homepage, the pinned post on our Telegram, and the pinned post on our X feed. So a lot of great places. So last week's winner, if you click it right now, you'll be going to AIOZ. They're the leaders in decentralized personal identity networks, DEPIN. AOZ. If you check it out, you will get to see a lot of cool information. In fact, they just noted that the Supreme Court rejected their bid for shield Coinbase user data from the IRS. So like now more than ever, privacy is super important. And AIOZ networks and their DPIN solution can provide the way. So with that plug out of the way, we would like to now get back to our beverage. CupoJOSÞPH, how are you doing, sir?
Excellent. Yeah, very, very excited to have Alice have won the auction auction to get on today.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, I love the mechanism design, just put DeFi mechanisms into everything, into podcasts, into finance, everything, it's awesome. So yeah, really, really excited to talk today.
Exactly. DeFi first. It's kind of an experiment we've been doing. I wasn't even sure if anyone was going to bid on it, to be honest. Like if no one bids, great, I'll get a holiday. But I'm actually like more excited because I'm super excited to like hear about everything that you've been building. So for people who aren't familiar with your background, could you talk a little bit about who you are, why you are like notable?
Yeah. Notable. Okay.
I'd say you're notable.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. If I had a trading card for myself, like I used to collect like baseball cards and stuff, and it has like the stats on the back, I think my top stat would be more than 1% of the current stored state on Ethereum mainnet was created by calling smart contract functions I wrote. And I've been a Solidity developer for like 8 years now, which is kind of crazy to think it's been that long. And I've contributed to Liquidity in a very small way, OpenSea, Consensus, Gitcoin, Metacartel, Raid Guild, a lot of DAOs, and a number of DeFi protocols, some which have succeeded and some which have failed. And now I'm working on a new one called Nerite. And yeah, happy to get into any of those things or what we're doing next, whatever's most interesting.
I mean, ton of interesting things there. So like, I feel like I want to get to Nerite, but like, as a like fellow like entrepreneur who has gotten many failures in my past, like I think that's like a super interesting topic to hear about. Like I always like hearing about like, you always like read, whenever you read like the scheme about like this so-and-so like built this $1 billion company and they're perfect and like all these amazing things, but you don't hear the stories of failures, which is like way more common. But like also amazing learning experiences. So could you actually talk about some of those failures?
Okay. Sure. In 2019, I launched a product called Time Rex that was funded by Metacartel originally. And it was to tokenize an hour of your time per token. And it had a platform where you could take an hour of a developer's time, an hour of a designer, and 30 minutes from a PM and wrap them into an index so that you could build your app by buying tokens. Total failure. Nobody ever used it. and but it was very early in terms of like personal tokens, or personal meme tokens, or even time tokens, which comes along every couple years. So I think that was one that was a little too early. And I guess one of the most recent ones was in 2022. I raised $2 million for a startup called Keep, KEYP. And we had about 300,000 customers. And the whole thing was basically privy. And it was login with Gmail, but we also had login with your Xbox.com account, login with chess.com, login with Pornhub. And it was like OAuth, any OAuth, login, get an Ethereum wallet. And we just got crushed by Privy. And they had a lot more resources and a better product, and then we pivoted and started doing more DeFi stuff after that. But I learned a lot from that experience, and seeing Privy get acquired by Stripe for some unknown amount of billions, definitely makes me feel some type of way. So lots of learnings from all those. Yeah.
I mean, I was noting to myself the irony that you were too early in your time startup, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember that.
But actually, scheduling is one of the worst things. Have you thought about doing relaunching?
No way.
It now that more and more people are getting into Web3?
No way. I really just want to focus on DeFi from here. I think that is the part of crypto that matters the most and is going to have actually the biggest impact on the future.
Okay, and this is why you turned to Nerite. Am I pronouncing that right or wrong?
Nerite. I've heard some Italian people say Nerite, which it's a type of snail, Nerite snail, and however you say it is fine. So the whole project is just kind of like snail themed, because I have a lot of fish tanks and aquariums in my house. So I just love snails. I have like a whole tank full of different kinds of snails. They're awesome.
So how do you feel about escargot?
Oh man, everyone's in con, having escargot and snails and stuff, and I'm trying to, get people to embrace being friends with snails. So I say, snails are friends, not food.
Yeah, I was looking through your brand kit, because you got so many gorgeous. Let me get one of them up on screen here. Although there's something funky about one of the SVG ones. Some of the SVG ones I had trouble loading, but here's a gorgeous stripe colored snail. Here's a black and white one, blue. The tiger snail, that's a
go into the cute snails folder. We also we made snail themed NFTs, and we were able to raise about $10,000 for security audits. So we actually paid for our security audits for Nerite through selling snail NFTs, and also from a grant from the Arbitrum Foundation.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So when was this timeline? It looks like 5 months ago. I was told NFTs are dead.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think there's actually just so many people that just really genuinely want to use Nerite, which we should, say what that is at some point.
Oh yeah, it's not just a snail platform.
Yeah. There's so many people that just genuinely want to use it, that they're like, yeah, we want to help you launch sooner. Can we send you money? And I'm like, well, I can't just accept money from you just because if it's not an investment, and we don't have any VCs or anything. So I said, all right, well, we'll commission some art, and we just kind of did it. You can just do things.
Very cool. So why, for the people who are not familiar, what is Nerite?
Yeah, Nerite is a fork of Liquidity V2 on Arbitrum with streaming and a few other pretty cool twists. So Liquidity is rated by Blue Chip, which is a stablecoin rating agency, as the safest possible stablecoin implementation, safest stablecoin, Liquidity. Their V1 was really, really cool. And their V2, I think, is even cooler and more scalable. And so we've taken Liquidity version 2. We have the exclusive license to deploy it on Arbitrum. And so it's basically this new stablecoin protocol where you can borrow against ETH, ARB, LRTs, and Comp token, Lido ETH and Rocket Pool ETH. So you can borrow against all these things, get a really scalable stablecoin that's yield bearing, and also you can do streaming. So it's the first natively streamable token. And what does that mean? Basically, you can send stablecoins linearly over time. So I can send you $2,000 a month instead of $2,000 on a particular day for a month of work, right? So I can send you streams linearly, which is great for vesting, great for grants, great for subscriptions, and a lot of other kind of unique DeFi things. So we're bringing this new primitive, basically, the streamable stablecoin, and then people can build a lot of cool things on top of it, like loans that use continually compounding interest instead of monthly compounding interest, loans that stream interest from a yield-bearing asset to your loan to pay it off linearly, annuities protocols that you buy an asset and it streams money to your wallet linearly forever, things like that. And we can do a lot of pretty cool new experiments because of it. So that was a lot of information. What questions do you have?
Oh no, it's so cool. So the streaming application I'm most familiar with is Llama Pay.
Yes.
It's by DeFi Llama, but that's like a very different implementation because that kind of streams to a vault and then you can claim it. What you're talking about is like I can like zap the money directly to someone like a transfer, but have it be a linear transfer. So like instead of like shooting you, it'll just like trickle towards you over a set period of time.
Yeah, Llama Pay is a great product. Sablier, Superfluid, all of them. There's been a couple pretty cool innovations in streaming. And it's also cool because it's something that TradFi can't do. Like your Bank of America account, your TD America account, Wells Fargo, whatever, they are never going to support linear payments. Never. It's never happened. No. Right. So we can build stuff that they literally cannot possibly build because they're just not set up to handle that kind of accounting. So for Nerite, we took the Superfluid protocol and we put it inside the stablecoin. So Llama Pay requires wrapping your token or using a vault and then claiming it later, right? Sablier and Superfluid have kind of similar systems. There's always an extra transaction, right? So you're always going to have to break composability. And we know from DeFi, the thing that makes DeFi pop off, the thing that is really cool about it and why it's actually useful is because you have composability between every protocol, right? If I have a 3-pool LP token that's an ERC20, I can take that ERC20 anywhere, right? I can take my Curve tokens to Convex, and this composability, permissionless composability is what makes DeFi, right? That's the main thing that's cool about it. And so we have these streaming things. I think streaming on chain is kind of the first iteration of like real-time money. And it's one of the best things that has happened in crypto. It's like one of the coolest inventions that, along with like flash loans and a couple other, really unique things. But all the implementations of it so far break this composability. And with Nerite, you can send a stream in one transaction. It's the same as you don't even need to make an approval, right? You just say, I'm streaming this amount per this amount of time, 5 cents per second, $100 per month, $5 million over the next 100 years, whatever you want. You just make that one transaction, and then now the stream is going, and the person's balance in their wallet, and Rabby already supports it, and other wallets don't really need to actually do anything, but just every time you refresh your wallet, your balance is ticking up or it's ticking down, depending on if you have more streams going in or out. and that's it. So it's just one transaction. You can stream tokens in or out of a Uniswap pool, in or out of a Curve pool, anything, and totally composable, just normal ERC20 stuff.
Yeah, it's such a cool idea. Like, it makes me think that, like, at some point there should be a whole like token standard. I feel like for streaming tokens, because it seems like you could just extend the ERC20 now.
You don't even need to, because it's literally just a library that we have now, and you just pull in this library, and it's 100% compatible with every ERC20 thing that exists already. Absolutely no changes to the ERC20 interface. It's just an extra function that's just, hey, make a stream or stop a stream. That's the other cool part, is you can stop it in the middle of a stream. So if I'm paying you a grant, yeah, and I know LlamaPay is used for a lot of grants. If I'm paying you a grant, if you're working on something, you want to get paid up front. If you're paying a grant, you don't want to pay until the project's done, right? So I can start a stream. The contractor or grantee knows that they're getting paid continuously. And if they don't meet a deadline or they're not making progress, then I just stop the stream. So it's really, it's just kind of a better way to do business, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the only objection I have is, like, I'm a Viper developer, so I don't think anyone's built this yet in Viper, but yeah, we'll see if we can get someone from the Viper team to move it over to Viper.
If anyone wants to work on that, please DM me, and I will help however I possibly can.
Maybe in the chat you can drop the link, because I've been looking through the GitHub while we're talking to try and find this, and I'm looking in Nerite.org, Nerite, but I'm not seeing the streaming library. So maybe you can help me find that just so I can take a look. In the meantime, I'll bring up the other link I missed that you had set up. So I'll go ahead and share this with people, which is not related to streaming, but if you're interested in any of these amazing Nerite snails, it looks like they're still available. So if you think NFTs are making a comeback, which I kind of feel like as a community, you could just go ahead and mint an NFT. You could just do things.
You can just do things.
All right, so here we go. We've got the bold token.
That's right.
Let's see how this looks. So this is where, like thank you, big shout out to the 300 or so people watching live on X. Again, 300 is nice, but rookie numbers. We know you're not at your 4th of July barbecues at 7:20 in the morning. So retweet this, share this, get this to all of your friends so that we can get that up to 30,000, or like a super patriotic number, like 1,776. Let's like get there and then stop there for a bit, and then we'll break through to something big. But I think we're going to have some sell pressure on that, because we're going to talk tech stuff here, and that usually makes the numbers go down, but it's more fun for me. So this is just the bold token SOL. And somewhere in here, there's going to be a stream function.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the library. So bold token is just a normal ERC20. It's the name of the contract from Liquidity. Our stablecoin is called USND. And
US
basically,
Nerite dollar.
Basically I didn't do anything, right? I just, like I said, took Superfluid, and we take the entire Superfluid library and just import it. It's literally like a 2-line change. It's very simple.
There you go.
But what you can do with it is really powerful. And so we've taken all of the Liquidity stuff, it's a fork, right? We made it compatible with Arbitrum. We did a lot of our own audits on our own changes, but most of the code is Liquidity, and all of the streaming is just Superfluid. I can send you some test tokens right now, and if you just pull up the Superfluid app, like you'll just find them. Like it just works. So it's yeah, I mean it's just a Superfluid library. So you can now make your own natively streamable super tokens that don't need any wrapping. And the Superfluid team has been hugely helpful in the development. They are awesome at support and helping us with testing and writing fuzzing tests and stuff like that. So couldn't have done it without them. And it's really just an integration of all my favorite things in DeFi: Liquidity and Superfluid and Arbitrum all thrown together, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I probably have to take this down because you can't really see it on screen here. But this is the super fluid, I think, or at least closely related to one of the libraries. I think the only
Right.
thing that like really sucks about this for me is that like we launched our squid token and now we can't add the super fluid streaming because we didn't think about it at the time. So sucks to be us. Maybe we'll have to like reissue or something. Very cool, very cool. Okay,
So
cool. So go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say we can go through like other changes from Liquidity that we've made, or whatever else you want to talk for. Also, hello
Yeah,
Alice. Thank you for bidding so that I can come on Leviathan News today.
absolutely. Big
Appreciate you.
thanks for setting this up because it's already been a great conversation so far, and we still have more time. So like we'll go all day long if we can. All right. I do want to hear about like your experience with forking Liquidity because again, agree with everything you said. Liquidity is a very amazing protocol, and like super excited to see the relaunch of Bold. Um, and we have a few people here who are here for the tech stuff, so it sounds like we can get down and dirty on as many technical details as we want. The first, are you just going to stay on Arbitrum, or are you going to move this to other chains?
Focus is on Arbitrum for Nerite, and actually that's a very exciting place to be this week with all the Robinhood stuff happening. So yeah, it's super Arbitrum native. It's optimized for Arbitrum. It's backed by Arb token. So partially, right? Mostly backed by ETH and ETH related assets, but we can take with a very conservative like debt limit the ARB token as collateral too, and we actually delegate all of the ARB that gets deposited in the protocol to our own DAO. So if everything goes really well, we'll be a very large delegate on Arbitrum pretty quickly, or at least that's the hope. And yeah, I think there's this idea around like forkonomics and splitting up the native stablecoins for Liquidity forks so that each network has its own unique, like native to that ecosystem fork. So maybe some of them will go cross chain, but I think it's better to just launch more.
All right. So if you care, just listening to this one, there's some chatter that's going on X right now. So Robo Odin was asking if this is a Alice supported project, and Alice is pointing out that this whole thing happened because there was a auction. So Alice won the auction and volunteered CupoJOSÞPH. So very happy that you're here. So I'm curious because like I have to admit, like I'm mostly like hang out on Ethereum mainnet. I have not done too much on side chains. Now that being said, like Arbitrum was one of the first ones that I used, and I'm like, I always had a good experience on Arbitrum, but like other than the like action on Robinhood lately, like it seems like I always like hear about like other side chains popping up and down. Like, what is like the climate on Arbitrum lately?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, you have new apps like Ostium, which is doing like perps uh, on stock indexes, which has been popping off, and there's like new wallets and UX stuff, UX layers coming to DeFi there. I mean, in terms of L2s, Arbitrum I think has the most staying power, and it's the best place for me for right now. I would love to do more stuff on mainnet too, but we've got Arbitrum DAO working on a new ARB token incentive program that's coming. We've got what else? Let's see. We've got grants for getting audits done. If you're an independent protocol developer, the most expensive and hardest part of launching the protocol can be, doing audits if you want to do it right and make sure that nobody gets wrecked, which I really do. So not everyone feels the same way, but I'm not going to launch anything without having multiple audits done. So I'm just an independent developer, right? We have no VCs, we have no outside investors, nobody to dump our token or who requires a huge markup so that we have to launch things at high FDV, low float. And so funding audits can be really hard and expensive, and I can just go to the DAO and apply for help funding that. So they have providers, and the foundation is there if the DAO rejects you. You know, great programs like that. I feel like I've been given a lot of support, and if you're thinking about launching something new, do it on mainnet, and if you need some help, do it on Arbitrum. That's my pitch.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Now, so I've done a little bit of work with like Optimism Superchain and ERC mintable fork tokens. Are you gonna like? I don't actually know what the process looks like for like an Arbitrum, if they have like a similar like Arbitrum fork token that you could use to fork it back to mainnet. But when you're bridging back to mainnet and kind of creating that shadow token on mainnet, like it's also gonna be streamable. It's also gonna use the stream library.
Yeah, that is possible, because there's this thing called L1 gateway on Arbitrum. So basically, when you launch a new token on mainnet or on Arb, you can register and say, "Hey, I'm the person who launched this. This is my token. Please use this token address as the canonical bridge, mint, you know, that mints back and forth using the Arbitrum bridge." So we can say, here's our custom contract on mainnet that has streaming built in, that has whatever. Please mint here whenever somebody bridges from Arbitrum to Ethereum, and then vice versa. We can use this use the gateway to do the same in the opposite direction. So whatever token, whatever special features you have, our streaming token, anything like that, it's totally customizable, because you're just registering basically the token address inside this gateway registry. I'm not a complete expert on that, but that's my understanding, and I've been going through the code for that for the last few weeks.
Yeah. And by the way, the chat is popping off so well on X. We're already up to 500 people, so good work on that. Remember, 1776 is the patriotic goal. We're going to hope to hit in the next 10 minutes. The chat's popping off so much, we're just going to leave it on screen here so people can follow along. Okay, cool. So while we are on the subject of Arbitrum, I was told that I should ask you about Lobbyfi. And actually, like, I remember the incident, but it somehow didn't get covered by Leviathan News, which is a really rare miss. The Leviathan News editing team is like top notch, so I'm really surprised that we didn't find this one in our archives. But I like know nothing about this except for like I just started reading about it, and I know the Blockmates team is pretty good. They talked about how there's this incident which happened just a few months ago. And basically, with just 5 ETH, a major vote in Arbitrum was able to be swayed, and it happened to be in favor
misleading information. That's misleading information.
Oh, how so? How so?
The vote was swayed, but the outcome didn't change. So how can you say the vote was swayed by this vote buying when the person who got all of the Lobbyfi votes didn't win, and the insiders decided already who, you know, what people to pick? So you're
okay. So it was winning, and then someone happened to buy 5 ETH and inflated their voting power, and also voted, but didn't sway the votes. Is
right. So let me start from the
winning.
beginning. Let me start actually from a few days ago. And I just posted a link to this tweet in our private chat. But basically, Vitalik got on stage and did a keynote at EthCC a few days ago. And Vitalik said, hey, you know, there's these big problems with DAOs, you know, and we've theorized that people will buy votes and do vote buying and bribery and these bad things, and to take over DAOs and do evil, bad boy things. And that has been theorized for like a decade, right? And everyone who's following this is using Curve, right? And we love Curve gauges, which are exactly the same, right? Those are vote buying, those are bribes. You're just directing incentives for bribes. That's the reason Convex exists. So we're on a Curve ecosystem, you know, call. So important to note that. Hell yeah, Curve cap. There we go. So this is not a new concept, right? And Lobbyfi is an app that lets you delegate ARB token, ENS token, several others for these kind of delegate style DAOs. And it says, delegate to our smart contract. And when somebody wins an auction, we are automatically going to vote in the DAO for whatever the person who won the auctions vote. So every time there's a new proposal up on Arbitrum DAO, there's an option to buy all of the Lobbyfi votes that people have delegated. And it creates utility for the governance token that didn't exist before, because there's currently no other way to get yield on your ARB token when it's delegated, right? So if you're using Arbitrum, the network, and you're holding ARB token, you have to choose, do I want to leave this token valueless in my wallet where it's basically like a rock and keep it delegated to myself so I can use the governance rights to it? Or do I want to put it in Aave or borrow against it on Nerite, or provide liquidity to an AMM with this ARB token and use the economic rights? So you have to choose one or the other, right? And that's true for basically all governance tokens. Use the economic rights or use the governance rights. And Lobbyfi said, we're going to create a way for ARB holders to get yield, create more utility for ARB token, and also create a way for smaller delegates to be able to influence decisions. And if you come to Arbitrum DAO and contribute for a long time in good faith, it is very, very hard to get a significant amount of delegation because not very many people are paying attention. Okay, it's really hard to attract delegation. And Lobbyfi is a way where I can buy votes that have been delegated there and affect the outcome, right? Or that's the goal. So what happened was there is an oversight committee, the OAT Council, Arbitrum Oversight, I forget the exact acronym, but it's an oversight council over the new operational company that Arbitrum DAO has launched. And I'm very qualified for that because I've done angel investing for a long time. I've built a lot of things on Arbitrum. I'm very familiar with DeFi ecosystem, and I've been contributing to DAOs for longer than most people in Arbitrum DAO. So I was very qualified. I ran for this position, and another anonymous person named Hitmonlee.eth, who has a Pokemon ENS name, which I think is great. Get Pokemon ENS. That's a shill for that. How many shills can I fit into one story? Let's see. Hitmonlee.eth bought, I think it was like 13 million ARB or something like that in votes for 5 ETH, which was roughly $10,000. So they get an insane amount of leverage for the votes, and they voted all of them for me for this council. And the Arbitrum Foundation and several other people super freaked out about that because they saw it as an attack on their existing power structures, and ensured that all the other delegates would collude to make sure that I lost, and that the 3 people that won, are also very qualified. Actually, I think everyone in the election there would have done a great job, and there was no wrong answer. And I think that those votes were underpriced. They should have been more. It should have been more expensive. It shouldn't have costed $10K to win that auction. But to call it an attack, I think, is inaccurate because everybody who was on that list of candidates was already pre-approved and already pre-selected as being allowed to participate, and already screened by, I think, Entropy or somebody else. So all the candidates were already approved. So there's no outcome possible in that vote where there's no outcome possible where Lobbyfi attacks the DAO or drains the treasury. That was not a possibility, right? It was voting in an election where they've already decided, Arbitrum DAO has already approved these candidates to be in this election, right? So calling it an attack is just, that's not accurate. And also, right now, if you go on to Tally and check out Arbitrum, you'll see that almost everybody who was pearl clutching and complaining about this attack has now voted to lower the threshold for consensus, so that it takes. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the top one, constitutional quorum. So look at all these people who said LobbyFi is taking over. LobbyFi is going to take over Arbitrum DAO. But they all just voted to lower the quorum. So obviously they're not actually very concerned about LobbyFi. It's all just, there's a threat to the existing power structure. And I mean, I work in DeFi because I want to upend existing power structures. So it's not, it's really not that big of a deal. And the fear is, the fear is not real. It's kind of like theater. And LobbyFi is actually very cool because it makes DAOs more efficient, and it gives people who don't have a voice an opportunity to participate and force people to take them seriously. And it also brings utility to ARB holders. So all of those are things that I'm pro, is using your economic rights and your governance rights of your tokens, creating more utility for your ARB token holders, creating more chances for smaller delegates to actually influence the outcome. All of those are positive things. That was a really long story. Hopefully you got all of that, and that was at least a little bit interesting. But that's my experience.
It reminds me of what Benjamin Franklin said, which is that DAOs are the worst form of governance except for all the others.
Yes, exactly. So the solution here, and the solution to Vitalik and his comments about, LobbyFi being bad, is not get rid of LobbyFi. All the ARB tokens that are delegated were bought at some point, right? ARB is a traded token. It has a pool on Uniswap. So all the tokens are being bought at some point, and there's tens of millions of them on Aave that can be borrowed and then delegated at any time, right? So I can go put in, a few $1 million onto Aave, borrow millions of ARB, and then pay it back right after a vote, and only pay, the $10,000 to do that. That has always been a risk. Everyone knows that has always been a risk. Wasn't it Chuck Norris? I don't know what that means, but the solution is don't have your governance token be bought or sold, or design a system where it doesn't matter if LobbyFi influences it. It doesn't matter if people are vote buying, because the system is designed to handle that, like curve gauges, right? You're supposed to buy the vote, and that makes the system more efficient, because now people know what pools are going to give them the most fees, right? And it's a flywheel, and it makes everything work the way that it's designed. So it's a problem with DAO design. It's not a problem with LobbyFi or other similar projects.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And Vitalik, you were invoked. So if you're one of the 600 people, we just crossed 600, who are listening live on X and YouTube, please join. Like, drop in the comments that you're listening, because we know you are, and we'll give you a link, and you can come on and rebut this, so we can get an actual honest debate going on here. Or if you're afraid, that's fine too.
I love it.
That being said, though, 600 still rookie numbers. Remember, the goal is we want to get 1776 in honor of July 4th. I got more questions along the lines of DAOs for you. So in terms of DAO structure, I took a look, and this is the Nerite DAO, and I see one member. Is that a governance risk?
No, because it doesn't do anything, and there's no upgrades in our protocol on any of the core contracts or how Liquidity works. Basically, Nerite token hasn't launched yet, right? And it's going to launch later. And the only thing that our governance can do is direct a percentage of the protocol revenue and update the URI for the NFT trove positions. So every trove, which is what we call a debt position on Liquidity forks, and Liquidity itself, obviously, those are structured as NFTs. And I want to be able to change the picture of that later, so we can update that. Protocol revenue, 75% goes to stablecoin holders to make the stablecoin yield bearing sustainably. So 75% always goes to stablecoin holders, and the other 25% is directed by governance. So we don't want to launch Nerite token yet. We want to wait to do that for as long as we can, and run the protocol without a token for as long as we can, right? Because that's how you grow DeFi protocols, and it will make our launch much, much, much simpler. And then we can launch a token later and release it to everybody, or handle it however we want. So the only thing that our governance can do is it can't even change this 25%, 75% split. Can't even change the split. It doesn't have power to do that. But what it can do is direct 25%. Liquidity uses gauges very similar to Curve to do that. But without launching the governance token, who's going to vote in the gauge, right? You don't have any Nerite token. So we're going to direct that manually at launch, and make sure that everyone who's providing USND and other stablecoins and ETH liquidity and other things like that get massive rewards, and basically all of the revenue goes towards LP rewards. And then we'll launch a token later if it makes sense. And that's it. So no, it's not a governance risk because there's no upgrade ability, and we're totally governance minimized, similar to how Liquidity works.
Excellent, excellent. How has it been working with the Liquidity team on launching this?
They're
fork?
awesome. I love them so much. I mean, look, they're OG DeFi, players. Liquidity is the Ethereum dollar because the first version is only backed by ETH. Second version is backed by just ETH, Lido ETH, and Rocket Pool ETH. And it's just like the most Ethereum native. It's not cross-chain. It's not upgradable. It's totally immutable, and it has the kind of cypherpunk ethos. The team, I mean, they're absolutely cracked. Their version 1 went to like 4.5 billion in TVL. It's one of the most forked protocols ever. And the way that they're doing this licensing is really, really smart. And so you remember when Uniswap v3 launched and it was not fully open source and everybody was mad? You remember that? That was a rough day, Uniswap.
Oh, yeah.
So that's because they said, hey, we're doing this business license. Nobody else is allowed to use Uniswap v3. You have to rely on us. And Liquidity said, okay, we want to benefit from all these forks, and we want to make sure that they are safe, because we don't want the brand risk of people launching forks that get hacked anymore. We don't want that. So if you want to launch a fork, come to us. We'll give you an exclusive license to deploy on that chain. It's a very reasonable price, and we'll support you with tech support. I actually wrote a whole blog about my experience working with them, and like all the services that they've provided us. But they'll introduce you to partners, to LPs. And now we have 20 forks. There's a group chat with the founders of all the fork teams, which is awesome. And we have infrastructure providers like Summerstone, and I don't know, I'll say some others, like K3 is another. So we have infrastructure providers and partners that can work with all of them, right? Yearn is another one. Yearn just launched a Bold Vault, and Y Bold, which is like the yield-bearing version, Yearn yield-bearing version of the Bold stablecoin. Really cool. And now you can take that and bring it to Spectra and get fixed rate products, right? So all those integrations with Liquidity, every single thing you build for Liquidity, which is going to be huge because they've already done it before, works out of the box with 20 forks. There's already 20. There's going to be more. So every integration that somebody builds for Nerite, that's not specific to the streaming, that's the specific stuff that we added, but pretty much everything you build for Nerite is going to work out of the box with Liquidity and every other fork team, right? So if you're deciding, okay, do I want to grow my provider? Do I want to grow my DeFi protocol? Who do I want to integrate with? You integrate into Liquidity, and then every time you do that, you get 20 new partners, and it all just works, and it doesn't require any extra work, right? So that's forkonomics, and it's pretty cool. I think it's going to be very, very powerful, and we kick up 1% of our governance token to Liquidity, and we incentivize a USND and a Bold stability. We incentivize a USND, which is our stablecoin for Nerite, and a Bold pool together, and that's
On
it.
Curve?
Maybe on Curve. You want it on Curve? If you provide some
Absolutely.
incentives, I'll match them on Curve, and let's do it.
I mean, I will go ahead and provide incentives, but you should know how poor I am. So it'll be like so the incentives I
Well,
provide will not be much, but I could
we'll
definitely
talk. Yeah, we'll
we can
talk
definitely
about
talk
it.
offline because maybe I can connect you with richer people who might be able to provide incentives. Because my incentive, I mean, I could send some squid incentives. Squid's like a penny. I could send some squill incentives, but yeah, I put all my money in fine suits so I can host this podcast.
The incentives are going to be awesome because we're going to have our own incentives for our own token. We're going to have incentives from the AMM. Superfluid just launched their own SUP. I haven't decided if I'm going to call it SUP or SOUP yet. But SUP token rewards on top. If we get any ARB from the ARB Arbitrum DAO, that will go on top. That's already like 5 tokens.
Yeah, I think you got to
so
go
we're just gonna keep
SUP.
stacking.
I'd go with SUP, by the way, because that way when people are asking about the token, you could say, "What's up?"
Yeah, what's up? Okay, let's do that. I like that. SUP. Yeah, so Superfluid SUP token, we'll have incentives for that. If we deploy on Bunny, I want to have Bunny incentives and then rehypothecate USDC on Bunny into Gearbox or into Curve, maybe. I don't know. Probably not Curve because it's not 4626. But just like we just keep rehypothecating, right? And it's going to be so fun. One of the main goals I have with launching Nerite is just try to recapture some of the magic from like DeFi summer in 2020 and 2021, where we were launching new primitives and we're trying different things. And I feel like DeFi has kind of lost that energy. So by creating the first natively streamable token, we're going to create this whole new explosion of composable protocols and new experiments to try, and then just keep building incentives on top of it. So I'm really excited.
100%, 100%. It's actually leads to a question I'm going to ask you in just a second. But first, just want to get to, you mentioned this at the beginning, the types of collateral that can be used, which is various forms of wrapped Ethereum, or rather staked LSTs, Arbitrum, Comp, and TBTC, and that's it. Never anymore, ever again.
No more can be added or removed by governance or anything. No, there's no ability to add any. It's totally static. If any of the oracles for any of those fails for some reason, that branch will shut down. And it's really cool how each collateral has its own addresses registry, has its own kind of branch of smart contracts. So they're pretty isolated. They're all backing the same stablecoin. And for more risky assets like ARB, we have higher collateralization requirements and a lower debt ceiling. So that's the amount of stable coins that you're allowed to mint against it or borrow against. So we've isolated kind of the risk of each individual collateral. So if there's ever an issue, that branch will shut down, right? And that will only allow repaying of debt, and then it can never come back, ever.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Totally static, totally
yeah. I like
no upgrades. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, and it's like an amazing choice of assets. Like I like all of those, but the question I have is like, first, like why not allow for like the Nerite governance to like add more, because it's kind of like a bet on Arbitrum innovating, and it gives some governance additional. What was the calculus there?
The calculus on not giving the governance token any power.
Yeah. Or to add more collaterals, I guess. Like it seems to me like adding more collaterals is kind of just like saying, hey, if you launch a new project on Arbitrum, like maybe you can also like get it added as collateral for Nerite. And no,
totally changes the risk profile. Completely changes the risk profile. And people don't talk about this enough when we talk about DeFi protocols. There's a certain set of rules that you agree to when you use Nerite. Those rules never change, right? It will never be, if you're holding a stable coin, if you're taking loans here, This is a long-term protocol. I want you to take this loan and keep this loan open for the next 30 years and never have a security incident and never have, any problem, because you have these guarantees that one of the stable coin is always redeemable for $1 worth of collateral, right? And you always have this backing. And if you say in the future we can add new collateral types, okay, what if I add CupoJOSÞPH shitcoin 69 and I happen to have 500 bajillion of those, and now I can rug the whole protocol. How many protocols have been hacked? How many compound finance forks have been drained because they added a rebasing token, which everybody knows not to do, but somehow they keep doing it, right? So it completely changes the risk profile. And you have this trade-off where you say, okay, we want to be able to fix things, so we make it upgradable. We want to be able to add, be more flexible, so we add these kind of upgrades or ability to add new collateral types. And that is a totally different risk compared to a totally immutable protocol, where there might be something wrong and then you have to redeploy the whole thing, right? Which is a pain and really annoying, and happened to Liquidity, earlier this year. But I think long term, it makes the whole thing safer, more reliable, and you actually know what guarantees you're getting when you participate. So that's the math. Not everyone is going to agree, and it's a trade-off, but that's the math.
No, it makes perfect sense. And then like it seems like if down the line you decide that like it's going really well and you want to like launch more collaterals, you could always launch a second fork of your own protocol, right?
That's right. Always.
So I dig it. But actually, like, it's a perfect transition to the like big question that you kind of touched on a little bit before. But it's like the narrative in 2025 is very much that the suits are here, not like the suits who are as Robo Odin cleverly noted, like not wearing pants type suits. Like the actual like Wall Street institutions are like probing around, and like the narratives, and that's great. But what's your thoughts on like the role of decentralish? Because you're launching Nerite, but like I guess like what place do you see decentralized stablecoins having if we do see this kind of new era coming where like Wall Street moves on chain and stablecoins are like being used for settlement? Where do decentralized stablecoins fit in this like broader structure?
I mean, there's a lot being launched right now that are really stupid and useless. So there's a lot of decentralized stablecoins that it's like, why? What purpose does this serve besides stablecoins are really hot right now, and you were able to raise, a seed round from some San Francisco bros who read a LinkedIn thread about how stablecoins are the future. Right? Don't do that.
I mean,
I don't wish being a stablecoin founder on anyone. Like, it's hard to attract capital. It's hard to build these incentive networks. Don't launch a DeFi protocol. Build stuff around them if you can, but don't launch new ones. It's actually really hard, and most of them you don't even hear of. You hear of all of the success stories, but it's like survivorship bias. So many of them have died with 100K TVL. So if you don't know who the customer is, and you don't know who has already guaranteed millions in TVL, then don't do it, right? And the punks, used to be able to launch a new protocol in 2020, 21, maybe 22, and say, hey, I came up with something new. I came up with something unique. Here it is, post it on Twitter. Andre gives you a retweet, and boom, you have a few million TVL, right? It's over. The suits are firmly in charge, and it's very hard to compete with them. They just want a guaranteed 20% APY with no risk, pay me up front, incentives. And a lot of protocols are doing that. But yeah, it is. I think it's definitely suits versus punks. And the reality is my decentralized stablecoin on Nerite does things that no other stablecoin can do, right? It does streaming. It lets you build streamable annuities. It lets you do interest rate calculations. with E instead of instead of stepwise, you can do continuous compounding. So mine just does more. It does things that I couldn't possibly build into a centralized stablecoin because the accounting just doesn't work, and it's just better. So if you want to compete with them, if you want to go fast and build new primitives and test out what's this new financial system that we're building from scratch, you have to build something new and something unique that provides people value. So I hope that's what we've done with Nerite. I don't know if that answers your question at all. That was kind of a ramble, but
No, it's
we're
good.
building
It
cool
leads
stuff,
back.
and you can't do it with USDC.
Well, it ties back to your point from earlier about like people really want to be able to it was like all this fun stuff was popping off. There's new innovations coming left and right, and there's been still a lot of innovations for the past few years. But it's like I'm still here for it. Like I'd like to see that like I hadn't even thought of the idea of like a natively streaming stablecoin until you mentioned it, and then you discussed it. It's like, aha, yeah, of course, that opens all these amazing applications. And it's like I don't know, like to some extent, like I am here for the world where the suits are stable coins that are kind of boring, and DeFi is just like launching like such cool new financial primitives that like we steal or like attract a lot of the attention and thunder to us, and everyone actually might win in that scenario because like someone like with billions or trillions of institutional stable coins on chain, people are going to find ways to bleed that into like true DeFi, right?
I hope so. I'm going to say one other thing about it. Liquidity is safer than USDC, right? And I really believe that. Yeah, exactly. No, well, it's not even no freeze function. It's not even, I mean, that's part of it for sure. But if you go to bluechip.org, which is a stablecoin rating agency, and I'm sure you've heard of it if you're in Curve land or, checking out different stablecoins all the time. Bluechip.org has a rating system for safety of stablecoins. LUSD, the first version of Liquidity, is the safest stablecoin. It can't depeg down. It can only depeg up, right? It literally can never go below 99 cents. It can't happen because it has a feature that USDC can never have. It has redemptions. You can take one LUSD, and this is true for Nerite too. You can take one USND, and you can always redeem it for $1 worth of ETH as collateral. Always. You always have this redemption feature. Okay, and that's the core innovation of Liquidity, is this redemption. And USDC will never have a redemption. You will never be able to take one USDC, call Circle up on the phone at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, and instantly redeem it for $1 of treasury bill that's backing it, right? They don't do that. There is no option to get Circle to send you treasury bills when you're holding USDC. And there's certainly not a way to do it in what's the Ethereum block time? 12 seconds, right? So there's certainly not a way to do it in 12 seconds for less than $1 in gas, whenever you want at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, right? So USDC has depegged. It will depeg again. And if not that, then it will be JP Morgan USDC or whatever, because banks fail. That's just the reality. But smart contracts on Ethereum don't fail when they have this redemption feature, and they're totally immutable, right? So we have a rating system. Liquidity is safer. There are things that we can do with smart contracts that we cannot do with centralized stablecoins. So it's still worth pursuing. It's still worth, making them safer and figuring out, what's the future here and how we can compete with them just by, making them have more utility. That's it. That's all I'll say on that. But I really believe it. I really think, everything shows Liquidity is actually much safer than USDC, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when USDC just depegged for a weekend, and I was buying up USDC. That was like, it's funny because people like the only two times I've made money in crypto have been Bitcoin and stable coins, and people are always like, "How do you make money on stable coins?" And I'm like, like just little things like that. Like the USDC depeg was, it was an easy buy for me when
Really?
But that being said, like, well,
Worst
I didn't think it was
worst
going to
weekend of my
zero
life.
forever.
Worst weekend of my life, because we had just closed a $2 million seed round for my startup, and we had most of our runway in USDC, and we swapped it into ETH and Rye when the DPEG started, and we actually made a fucking killing on it because we swapped to LUSD later and timed it very well. But I had investors at 2 a.m. on Saturday who signed a SAFE agreement, which is, if you don't know, is like a very standardized way to raise money for startups, calling me again, 2 a.m. Saturday. Hey, if USDC goes to zero, can we liquidate our position in your startup and have a percentage of our money that we invested in you back? And I have to like go negotiate with different investors and see if one of them will buy another one out because their entire fund was USDC and they didn't know if they lost it all. And they sold.
It was the exact scenario. The exact scenario you're talking about with USDC. You're saying you can't call up Circle and ask for your money at 2 a.m., but your investors were calling you up at 2 a.m. and trying
That's
to get their
right.
money
That's what
back.
I'm saying. That's where that example comes from because I literally went through that and it was freaking horrible. Right. And if I was just holding LUSD, which I was afterwards, that never would have been a problem. I would have been sleeping the whole time.
Oh, you could try calling up Vitalik and ask if he can stop the blockchain so that you can get your LUSD.
I feel like I might be on his shit list now. Oh, I don't know. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast? But
Oh, of course, yeah, it's family friendly, but after an hour,
I
the
feel
kids
like
are
I'm
asleep.
on the bad boy list after Vitalik gives a presentation about how blockchains are being used for evil, and then posts things that I've been doing as the example.
Well, again, Vitalik was too afraid to come on the podcast, so I think that gives.
I'm sure he's just busy, and also he has no context about the situation,
No.
and he's totally wrong.
No, he's one of the 775 people watching live, so very good. 2 away from 1,000 less than our magic number, 776. For America Day. So real quick, I'm going to ask you, like, in your X bio, you also mentioned that you're the founder of Nerite as well as SolarPunk
That's
VC. What's SolarPunk VC?
SolarPunk is basically what I do with all the money that I make in crypto, and I invest in moonshot environmental startups and stuff that is really cool and kind of fits the SolarPunk thesis. So we have like all cypherpunk, and we have cyberpunk, which is kind of pessimistic. And solarpunk is an ideology that says, what would the world look like if we solved all of the contemporary problems of our day? And so I started basically a small angel fund to invest in like environmental stuff that I find very cool. So I've invested in a company that does magnesium mining from seawater, a company that does makes glow sticks out of bacteria instead of poison chemicals, and some other like industrial and biotech stuff. A few blockchain projects like Bio Protocol and Azos Finance, which is another stablecoin backed by renewable energy assets. And so it's kind of a side project for me, and to just do this angel investing on the side. But I get to see real world impact for the money and mechanism design that I do in crypto.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. I mean, one of the reasons I'm here in the Pacific Northwest is because the nature is amazing. So getting to hear that there's some people who are helping to keep it amazing is very nice to hear.
That's the goal.
Very good, very good. All right, so like as we transition out here, let's obviously you're like a man of big ideas. Like, talk about some of like the big ideas that you have for like anything. It could be like where crypto's heading for the next while, or it could just be like larger philosophical thoughts on society.
Okay. Yeah, it just put me on the spot for that. That's fine.
Right.
So the biggest idea behind Nerite is, and this is actually my pinned tweet on Twitter if you want to check that out. But basically, do you have a full-time job, or are you a crypto neat?
I am. I like it's
Okay. For most people, they have a job, right? And they get paid every 2 weeks. And it's really unfair. I have gone through periods in my life where I was, paid every 2 weeks, and you're waiting for payday, and I can make rent the day, rent is due the day before the paycheck. That's rough. And that's something that I've been affected by, and I know affects, millions, if not billions of other people. And I just hate the inefficiency of getting paid every 2 weeks. It doesn't make any sense. It's also every moment that you're working and not getting paid, you're giving an interest-free loan on your labor to your boss, right? And so it's also just another like inefficiency in the payment system that accounting systems have to pay you every 2 weeks instead of more often. So software inefficiency leads to, these kind of labor and capital inefficiencies that keeps people poor and gives more power to the capital class. Not to get too woke on the podcast, but it's really interesting. I don't think it's really fair, and we could do something much better where you get paid linearly, right? And so for every second that you're working, you're getting your salary streamed to you, and your account is ticking up continuously, right? And that's just a better way to get paid. It also is better for the boss and for the company paying you, because they never have to make payroll. There's never a day where a huge sum is coming out of the account. You can start a stream paying someone $2,000 a month if there's only $100 in your account. You don't need the full amount in your account to start a stream, because it's ticking down. You just need to top it up every day or however often. So streams, could really revolutionize the way that people get paid, and just make it more fair and more efficient for everybody. There's also this other kind of philosophical idea. I don't know, maybe economics people watching don't think it's a philosophy, but GDP, right? You have GDP, which is basically the wealth of an entire nation or the world, or, a place. GDP is really a measure of the total wealth and like well-being of a society, right? Like how much stuff do we have? How much money, how wealthy is everyone, and quality of life, level of healthcare, child mortality, like those things all just completely correlate with GDP, right? GDP is the total number of dollars, total amount of money in the system, times how often does that money change hands, right? And if you increase the amount of dollars, which I think the United States government is very good at, they really love doing that. That creates inflation. High inflation creates incredible amount of suffering in the world, and that makes GDP go up, right? If dollars changing hands stays the same. So what if instead of creating new money, we grew GDP by making money faster and increasing the velocity of money, right? And so by making money streamable, real time, making interest rates continually compounding instead of weekly or monthly compounding, everybody gets more money, because money changes hands faster. If you're getting streamed money for your job instead of paid every 2 weeks, you can start paying down bills, you can pay for subscriptions, whatever, before you get it, right? So it increases how fast money changes hands, which can create a more wealthy society and improve literally everybody's lives without contributing as much to inflation, which causes suffering. So there's some maybe that's not what you expected, but I think there's some like very big philosophical ideas here about the capital efficiency, velocity of money, and like how that affects basically how much suffering there is in society. And my hope is that Nerite can inspire or play a part in affecting that in the future.
amazing. I put you on the spot.
Hopefully that was not too rambly, but that's my thesis.
No, I put you on the spot, and you delivered. So thank you. it's we're going into a long weekend, so we want to give some people like something good to close this podcast out on, and I think you very much delivered there. So thank you, CupoJOSÞPH. So I do have to bounce because it is a holiday, so we wish all Americans a very happy July 4th. Before we bounce, a quick congrats. The auction settled while we were on the stream here, and AOS has maintained the QR code. You continue seeing the whatever ad they decide to come up with for the next week. All their ads have been very funny, so check it out. Visit leviathannews.xyz to get a picture of those. Unfortunately, I'm going to be off for the next 2 weeks, so there will be no llama parties unless someone wants to step up and host a llama party on future. Catching up with you all on the next tide. So squids, take care.